does it all look, is my hair good? It's all
I didn't know much about him.
Well, that's just not true. I'm not sure exactly what the outcome will be, but definitely.
For years, certain stories lingered in the shadows, drifting like distant thunder you can sense, but never truly see. Then, without warning, the sky finally tore open. That rupture came when Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned architect of the Epstein empire, broke her silence and spoke a name no one expected to hear. Meghan Markle, not painted as a passerby, not framed as an innocent outsider, but described, in Maxwell's own chilling words, as someone drawn far closer to Epstein's inner orbit than the world ever believed. For years, people assumed Meghan's story began when she met Prince Harry in 2016. But Maxwell's revelations point towards something far more unsettling than anyone ever imagined back then. Older, darker, and far more unsettling. A trail of shredded testimonies, hidden meetings, and a past someone somewhere fought desperately to wipe from existence. This isn't tabloid fantasy. This isn't online rumor fuel. This is the part of the narrative buried in sealed records, murmured behind courtroom doors, and smothered under layers of classified ink. And today, those buried fragments finally begin to breathe. Because to grasp the truth behind Meghan's sudden rise, her baffling leap into royal life, and why her name sits in the dim corners of a case tied to some of the world's most untouchable figures, we must return to the moment everything was deliberately wiped out. The vanished hours. When Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony was finally made public, the world braced for a tidal wave of names, timelines, scandals, the kind of revelations that could fracture dynasties and topple legacies. Instead, what emerged looked like a battlefield massacred by black ink. Entire paragraphs missing. Whole chapters erased. Conversations ripped out like they never existed. More than 12 hours of Maxwell's spoken testimony simply disappeared. 12 hours. Let that sink in. Longer than a full school day. Longer than most people sleep. And every minute locked away from the world. Insiders familiar with the transcripts insist these redactions were anything but random. These weren't casual omissions. They were calculated erasures, details so volatile, so potentially devastating, someone decided the only safe choice was to lock them away forever. And this is where the story delivers its first jolt of electricity. Within those vanished hours, the hours swallowed by sealed vaults and classified restrictions, Meghan Markle's name reportedly surfaced, not as a footnote, not as speculation, but tied to situations, individuals, and circles now sitting at the heart of this escalating scandal. Long before Meghan crossed paths with Harry, long before titles or tiaras or balcony appearances, her name was allegedly woven into testimony the public was never meant to witness. This is the true starting point of the trail, and it leads directly to the next staggering chapter. The moment Meghan nearly found herself pulled into the courtroom spotlight. Long before wedding bells, before Oprah interviews and Hollywood deals, Meghan's name appeared where no one could have predicted, on the witness consideration list for Virginia Roberts. Virginia, one of the central voices in the Epstein case, reportedly named Meghan Markle as a potential witness. The reason? Virginia claimed Meghan possessed first-hand knowledge of specific individuals, especially Prince Andrew, well before she officially joined the royal family. This wasn't whispered by tabloids. This wasn't born from rumor mills. It came from a woman whose own testimony helped unravel one of the most powerful criminal networks of the modern era. If Virginia Roberts believed Meghan had information, it means Meghan was closer to Andrew's world than anyone publicly admitted. Sources say Virginia didn't ask for Meghan because Meghan was famous. She asked because Meghan had allegedly been in social environments where Andrew Maxwell and others interacted behind closed doors. For the legal teams, this was a nightmare. Calling Meghan as a witness would have forced her background, her associations, and her early connections under the brightest, harshest spotlight imaginable. But that never happened. Someone somewhere made sure that door stayed closed. And that brings us to one of the most disturbing claims of all. Ghislaine Maxwell's personal admissions about who Meghan used to be and the name she allegedly went by. According to Maxwell's comments from prison, Meghan Markle was known by a different name in her younger years, Flower. Not a stage name, not a character name from a film set, but an alias, one used in adult entertainment spaces and private social circles that operated far away from Hollywood's bright lights. Maxwell claims she knew Meghan, not in the polite, distant way celebrities claim to know each other, but in a way that suggests they shared overlapping worlds long before Meghan ever set her sights on British royalty. The alleged nickname Flower was used among certain guests, entertainers, and contacts within Epstein-linked environments. It was whispered in back rooms, on guest lists, and among the people whose lifestyles operated behind the velvet curtain of luxury and secrecy. To a young girl dreaming of fame, this world might have seemed glamorous, powerful, or exciting. But according to Maxwell, this world was anything but safe. And what unsettles investigators isn't the nickname itself, it's what the nickname implies. Meghan was not a stranger to that environment. Meghan had a presence there, and Meghan moved through circles that eventually overlapped with Andrew, Fergie, and others tied to the scandal. If this is true, it changes everything. It means Meghan didn't stumble into the royal world by chance. She didn't enter Buckingham Palace from the outside. She stepped into it from the shadows of a world the monarchy has spent years trying to distance itself from. To understand how Meghan's path crossed into royal territory long before she met Harry, we need to step into the world of private invitations, royal boxes, and quiet corridors where titles matter less than connections. According to multiple sources familiar with events from that era, Meghan was no stranger to the orbit surrounding Prince Andrew. Not as a friend and not as a royal guest, but as someone who appeared on the edges of exclusive gatherings. Back in the early 2000s and into the early 2010s, Prince Andrew frequently attended events with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Dinners, charity galas, private parties. These were not places where ordinary people simply wandered in. Everyone present was either handpicked or connected to someone powerful. And in those quiet corners, Meghan allegedly appeared. She wasn't yet a duchess. She wasn't yet a household name, but she was an actress trying to climb the ladder, navigating a world where introductions mattered more than resumes. This isn't about her being romantically linked to Andrew that is never claimed, but it is about her being close enough to witness the people, the atmosphere, the unspoken rules of the room. Sources say Meghan was introduced around this time to various personalities who moved effortlessly between Hollywood, New York, and royal circles. And more importantly, she interacted with people who were also tied to Andrew and Maxwell. It wasn't front-page news. It wasn't even a footnote. It was just a quiet presence in the background, one that would later become incredibly significant when Virginia Roberts asked for Meghan as a witness. Because those early interactions meant that Meghan saw more, heard more, and knew more than the public ever imagined. And if Andrew was the doorway to these circles, then there was someone else standing right beside him. Someone who knew Meghan longer than any royal ever admitted. Every major story has a hidden character, someone who operates behind the scenes, pulling strings quietly while the world watches the wrong people. In this story, that person is Sarah Ferguson, known to the world as Fergie. Andrew's ex-wife has always been tied to the royal family through children, money, and scandal. But according to insiders, Fergie played a far bigger role in Meghan's early proximity to the royal circle than most people realize. For years, the public believed Meghan and Fergie only met right before the royal wedding. A nice, tidy little story. But the truth, sources claim Fergie knew Meghan long before the engagement ever happened. She was present at many of the same exclusive events where Meghan briefly appeared. She was close with Epstein and Maxwell during the height of their influence. She navigated the same guest lists, the same yacht circles, the same silent rooms where secrets traveled faster than champagne. Some reports even suggest that Fergie competed for Maxwell's position, seeking influence in the same network of wealthy and powerful men. This isn't about jealousy or rivalry. It's about access. Fergie understood the value of being near powerful people. And Meghan, she was a young actress with ambition and a willingness to be in the rooms where her career could change. But there is also another layer. Some sources say Fergie later body blocked Meghan from getting too close to Andrew once Meghan's profile started rising. Whether it was protection or rivalry, no one can say for sure. But what is clear is this. Fergie had known Meghan. Fergie had seen Meghan's world. And Fergie understood the connections Meghan had before the rest of the royal family ever learned her name. And that leads directly to the night everything changed. The night Meghan's path collided with Harry's in a way that seemed spontaneous, but may not have been. If the Epstein circle was the dark ocean beneath the waves, Soho House was the glittering boat floating above it. Exclusive, glamorous, and always filled with the right people at the right time. And at the heart of this world was a man named Ron Burkle, a billionaire with connections spanning from Hollywood executives to political families to figures that quietly overlapped with Maxwell's social ecosystem. Soho House was more than a members club. It was a networking machine. One that moved careers, polished reputations, and connected rising stars to elite circles with astonishing speed. And this is where Meghan Markle's story takes a sharp turn. In April 2015, Soho House opened a new location in Istanbul. It wasn't just a party. It was a gathering of people with influence, money, charm, and ambition. Both Prince Harry and Prince Charles attended this event. And Meghan Markle, she was there too. Some say she was invited through a friend. Others say Burkle himself arranged certain introductions. But what everyone seems to agree on is that Meghan's meeting with Harry at Soho House wasn't a random coincidence. It was the perfect setting. The music, the lights, the glamorous crowd, the sense of being chosen, a moment crafted by the environment itself. Within a year, Meghan suddenly rebranded herself from actress to humanitarian, from Hollywood hopeful to polished global figure, from flower to future duchess. And many people quietly wondered who helped her make that transformation, who opened the doors, who guided her steps, because people don't rise that quickly without a hand behind them. And according to whispers from inside the circles that attended that very weekend, the hand behind Meghan may not have been just Soho House. It may have been connected to far older, far more powerful networks, ones that Maxwell referenced in her testimony before those pages were blacked out. When the question is asked, why would Meghan's name appear in redacted files? The answer might not be about Meghan at all. Multiple sources say the redactions aren't protecting Meghan the actress. They're protecting the people who placed her in certain circles. Powerful men, influential donors, international financiers, names from Hollywood, New York, London, and royal-adjacent networks. If Meghan was in these environments as a young woman, even briefly, then she might have seen or heard things that could embarrass people far higher on the pyramid. And this is where the tension rises because according to insiders, Meghan carries memories, connections, and conversations that are extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. Not because she wanted them, but because she was there. She saw the faces. She heard the whispers. She understood the dynamics of the rooms she entered. So the redactions didn't seal her name because she is a threat. They sealed her name because she is a witness. And witnesses, especially ones who later become duchesses, must be controlled, guided, and managed. In this view, Meghan's rapid rise wasn't a fairy tale. It was a placement, an arrangement, a strategy designed to elevate her away from the environments where she started. But when someone rises that fast, inevitably another force rises to meet them. A force determined to protect the monarchy from everything attached to the Epstein era. Inside the royal family, silence is the rule, discipline is the lifestyle, and reputation is everything. This is why the current tension between William and Harry has nothing to do with sibling rivalry. It has to do with protection. Sources close to the palace say that Prince William has drawn one firm boundary. He will not allow Meghan back into the royal inner circle. Not because of public arguments, not because of media interviews, but because her past, those hidden rooms, those powerful circles, those redacted hours carries a storm he refuses to let near the monarchy ever again. The clash became visible when Prince Andrew tried to attend a church service at Balmoral. William confronted the situation directly. Either he comes or I come, and Andrew left. That tells us something crucial. William is no longer tolerating the remnants of the old Epstein-connected world. Not Andrew, not Fergie, and not anyone whose history is tied to the same social web. To William, Meghan isn't just an outsider. She is someone who knows too much about circles the monarchy is trying to erase from its past forever. He's not fighting Harry. He's fighting the history Harry married into history with shadows. William once gone. But no shadow is darker or more symbolic than where Meghan's journey allegedly began. A place whispered about, never spoken of in public, but always remembered by those who were there. Every story has an origin moment. A moment that doesn't make headlines. A moment that seems small at first, just a warm night, quiet waves, and glittering lights reflecting off the water. But years later, that moment becomes the spark that explains everything. For Meghan, that moment is whispered to have begun on a yacht. Not a cruise, not a vacation, but one of those elite invitation-only gatherings where powerful men, silent deals, and unspoken rules all mix together under the cover of night. It was on one of these yachts, according to sources familiar with those social circles, that Meghan first entered the world she would later be accused of. Knowing too well, a world where introductions changed destinies. Appearances were everything. Favors were traded quietly. Young women were noticed, tested, and placed. Imagine it. The soft music, the expensive perfume in the air, the sound of glasses clinking, and the young actress named Flower standing beneath the golden lights, never realizing that every face she met that night would later shape her future. From that moment onward, Meghan was no longer just an actress. She was someone the powerful recognized, someone they watched, someone they quietly moved from one circle to another. And years later, when she walked into Harry's life, she didn't come as a stranger. She came as someone who had already seen the world he spent his entire life being protected from. That is why the redactions matter. That is why Virginia Roberts wanted her as a witness. That is why Maxwell's statements caused shockwaves. And that is why the royal family now stands divided. Because Meghan Markle isn't dangerous for what she did. She's dangerous for what she knows. And as more voices speak from prison cells, courtrooms, and sealed files, the storm that started on that yacht is rising again. The question now is not whether Meghan's past will resurface. The question is how much more of it the world is finally ready to hear.